Shalom, brothers and sisters. We hope all is well. We are coming to you to explain why it's time for us to go into mourning. It is the reason why we have our head covered. Covering your head is a sign of mourning and shame. We're going to open up with the book of Zechariah chapter 12 to show that it is our Maker, Asha, that we have pierced through our disobedience. Zechariah chapter 12.
I'm sorry, 1 minute. Okay, the burden of the word of Asha said Asha, which strengthened forth the heavens and laid foundations of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto the people round about, when they shall be ensaged, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. In that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut into pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. In that day, saith Asha, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness. And I will open mine eyes upon the house of Judah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. And the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength, and Asha, and Ashas. In that day will I make the governors of Judah like an heart of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in the sheep. And they shall devour all the people round about, on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. Asha also shall save the tents of Judah first, and the glory of the house of David, and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. In that day shall Asha defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as Asha, as the angel of Asha before them. And in it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem, and I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplication, that they shall look upon me whom they have pierced.
Who?
Asha, we pierced Asha.
They're going to look upon who, sister?
And they shall look upon whom they have pierced.
And who was it?
Asha.
And what verse is that?
That is
Zechariah chapter
10.
12, verse
Yep.
10.
Yes.
So Asha is telling us that we have pierced him, and we're going to look upon him, and we're going to mourn for him.
Yes. So let me start back at verse 10. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplication, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. In that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadadrimmon in the valley of Middad. And that land shall mourn, every family apart, the family of the house of David apart, and their wives apart, the family of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives apart, the family of the house of Levi apart, and their wives apart, the family of Shammai apart, and their wives apart, all the family that remain, every family apart, and their wives apart.
Shalom. So Asha is telling us that we're going to mourn for him. It is a time of great mourning for our people. We have our heads covered again because it is a sign of mourning and shame. Asha is delivering us back to our home. We are not from North America. We were taken there in the 1500s by the Spanish conquistadors. And these are the same people that occupy our land in Peru till this day. They have assumed our identity. Ashah said that he's going to deliver his Negroes within the year. We will be settled back into our land, but it won't stop there. It's going to be a fight. They're just not going to give it up. But he said the battle is not ours, it's his. Ezekiel chapter 24, verse 2. Son of man, write thee the name of the day, even of this same day the king of Babylon set himself against Jerusalem, his same day. And utter a parable unto the rebellious house, and say unto them, thus saith Ashah, set on a pot, set it on, and also pour water into it. Gather the pieces thereof into it, even every good piece, the thigh and the shoulder. Fill it with the choice bones. Take the choice of the flock, and burn also the bones under it, and make it boil well, and let them seethe the bones of it therein. Wherefore thus saith Ashah, woe to the bloody city, to the pot whose scum is therein, and whose scum is not gone out of it. Bring it out piece by piece. Let no lot fall upon it, for her blood is in the midst of her. She set it upon the top of a rock. She poured it not upon the ground to cover it with dust, that it might cause fury to come up to take vengeance. I have set her blood upon the top of a rock, that it should not be covered. Therefore thus saith Ashah, woe to the bloody city. I will even make the pile for fire great. Heap on wood, kindle the fire, consume the flesh, and spice it well, and let the bones be burned. Then set it empty upon the coals thereof, that the brass of it may be hot and may burn, and that the filthiness of it may be molten in, that the scum of it may be consumed. She hath wearied herself with lies, and her great scum went not forth out of her. Her scum shall be in the fire. In thy filthiness is lewdness, before I have purged thee, and thou wast not purged. Thou shalt not be purged from thy filthiness any more, till I have consumed my fury to rest upon thee. I, Ashah, have spoken it. It shall come to pass, and I will do it. I will not go back. Neither will I spare, neither will I repent. According to thy ways and according to thy doings shall they judge thee, saith Ashah. Also the word of Ashah came unto me, saying, Son of man, behold, I take away from thee the desire of thine eye with a stroke. Yet neither shalt thou mourn nor weep, neither shall thy tears run down. Forbear to cry, make no mourning for the dead. Bind the tire of thine head upon thee, and put on thy shoes upon thy feet, and cover not thy lips, and eat not the bread of men. So I spake unto the people in the morning, and at evening my wife died, and I did in the morning as I was commanded. And the people said unto me, Wilt thou not tell us what these things are to us, that thou doest so? Then I answered them, the word of Ashah came unto me, saying, Speak unto the house of Israel. Thus saith Ashah, Behold, I will profane my sanctuary, the excellency of your strength, the desire of your eyes, and that which your soul pitieth. And your sons and your daughters whom ye left shall fall by the sword, and ye shall do as I have done. Ye shall not cover your lips, nor eat the bread of men, and your tire shall be upon your heads, and your shoes upon your feet. Ye shall not mourn nor weep, but ye shall pine away for your iniquities, and mourn one toward another. Thus Ezekiel is unto you a sign, according to all that he hath done shall ye do. And when this cometh, ye shall know that I am Ashah. Also, thou son of man, shall it not be in the day when I take from them their strength, the joy of their glory, the desire of their eyes, and that whereupon they set their minds, their sons and their daughters, that he that escapeth in the day shall come unto thee, to cause thee to hear it with thine ears? In that day shall thy mouth be open to him which is escaped, and thou shalt speak and be no more dumb, and thou shalt be a sign unto them, and they shall know that I am Ashah. Brothers and sisters, we have been telling you that the spirit of death is in North America. Everybody is doing what they want to do. Nobody is seeking truth. Nobody is worshiping Ashah in spirit and truth. Nobody is studying to show themselves approved. I had a brother today ask me, well, if Jesus fake and all the gods of the New Testament, then who is the real God? I showed him Ashah. I copied and paste the same thing I copy and paste all the time. It was quite lengthy, full of scriptures to give him confirmation. And he told me that, oh, that's just too much to read. So what do you want me to do? We have to read. We have to study to show ourselves approved. Right?
Can't just take somebody's word for it.
Aren't you tired of taking other people's word for the truth? Ashah says in his word, cursed is the man that trusts in man and make flesh his arm and forgetteth Ashah, his maker. He's a spirit, not a man. He tells us to worship in spirit and in truth. But nobody's doing that. Everybody's doing what they want to do. They're following after the doctrines of devils, calling on demons. And so when Ashah says to not take my name in vain, that's what it means. It means to call him a name that is not his. They say, well, why did he only speak the name to you? Because I've been seeking him in spirit and truth. Dominique has been seeking him in spirit and truth. We're not just rolling with what someone told us his name is. We're not going with the majority rule. We're being set apart, and it doesn't take us to be circumcised to do that. We just have to be obedient to the word of Ashah. And yes, the pens of the scribes is in vain. So much of what's written is not the truth at all. For instance, Eve was not taken from the rib of Adam. No man on earth, not even Adam, can deliver a child from. Quoting from a book that was written by Europeans, published by the European. Have you checked to see who owns the publishing houses? Right? Even your Jewish Tanakh is published by the Jewish Foundation. So who the hell is that? Oh.
And then they always ask, was Ashah's name in the Bible? No, his name isn't in the Bible because the scribes lied.
The scribes.
In Isaiah, I'm sorry, sis.
You go ahead.
In Isaiah chapter 65, verse 15, it says that the names were changed. And
what
it
does
says,
it say, sister?
And ye shall leave your name for a curse until my chosen, for Ashah shall slay thee and call his servants by another name.
My word. So, what did Isaiah 65 say?
And ye shall leave your name for a curse unto my chosen, for Ashah shall slay thee and call his servants by another name.
So who is Jacob?
Jacob is a woman.
So who is Israel? Who is David? Are these names that our slave masters gave us?
Yes.
And Ashah says he's going to call us by another name because they gave us their own names.
Hebrew, all this stuff, it's all false.
It is false. People say, well, you need to study the Hebrew. Why? When the languages were confounded in the beginning. Genesis chapter 11, Ashah say, hey, let us go down and confound the languages. They trying to do me. Right? So no matter what language you speak, if you're not speaking the truth, it's a lie. That is the language that's being established in the earth, and that's true. No matter what language you speak. Okay, sister, let's show them why our heads are covered. Because many people say, well, you don't need to be teaching and your head is uncovered. But covering your head is a sign of mourning and shame. And so this is the time. And every day that you see us from now on, our heads will be covered. Ashah gave a woman a dream. And she said, you have been coming to me in my dreams for the past week. And your head was covered. I said, well, sister, covering your head is a sign of mourning and shame. So Dominique and I said, well, I need to go on a fast. She said, also, the fruit of your womb, your children are being attacked there's some type of interference going on with the children in your belly. I said, well, I need to fast. Because even Eve fasted when she was pregnant. And Asha says to rise up, ye women that are eased, to mourn. He didn't say the pregnant ones, the ones that's pregnant, y'all don't do it. Because y'all, he didn't say that. He said, rise up, ye women that are at ease. It's going to take us to deliver a new nation. Life is brought forth through the womb, not a rib. And so Asha is going to deliver us in the womb of earth. Huh? He's doing it right now. Head covering, sister.
Okay, so we know that, well, the head coverings are worn in times of mourning and shame. Asha himself is our covering, and our hair is our crown. We go on to 2 Samuel chapter 15, verse 30. And David went up by the ascent of Mount Olivet, and wept as he went up, and his head covered, and hold on, let me start over.
And speak louder, sister.
Okay. And David went up by the ascent of Mount Olivet, and wept as he went up, and had his head covered, and he went barefoot, and all the people that was with him covered every man his head, and they went up weeping as they went up. We're going to Esther chapter 2 verse 12. And Mordecai came.
Mordecai.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
And Mordecai came again to the king's gate.
Speak louder, sister.
And Mordecai came again into the king's gate, but Haman had hasted to his house mourning and having his head covered. This one, Psalms chapter 140 verse 7 is saying that Asha is our covering. So Asha, the strength of my salvation, thou hast covered my head in a day of battle. We're going to Isaiah chapter 30 verse 1. And Asha says, woe to rebellious children, saith Asha, that take counsel but not of me, and that cover with the covering but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. Jeremiah chapter 14 verse 3 and 4. And their nobles have sent their little ones to the waters. They came to the pits. They found no water. They returned with their vessels empty. They were ashamed and confounded and covered their heads, because the ground is chaff, for there was no rain in the earth. The plowmen were ashamed. They covered their heads.
So again, covering your head, and we'll apologize, it's getting dark here. Covering your head is a sign of mourning and shame. I'm going to end, we're going to make it real quick. We're going to end with the book of the editions of Esther. This is in the Apocrypha. And so let's see what Esther did. Chapter 13, verse 15. And now, O Asha and king, spare thy people, for their eyes are upon us to bring us to naught. Yea, they desire to destroy the inheritance that hath been thine from the beginning. Despise not the portion which thou hast delivered out of Egypt for thine own self. Hear my prayer, and be merciful unto thine inheritance. Turn our sorrow into joy, that we may live, O Asha, and praise thy name, and destroy not the mouths of them that praise thee, O Asha. All Israel in like manner cried most earnestly unto Asha, because their death was before their eyes. The editions of Esther chapter 14, verse 1. Queen Esther, also being in fear of death, resorted unto Asha, and laid away her glorious apparel, and put on the garments of anguish and mourning, and instead of precious ointments, she covered her head with ashes and dung, and she humbled her body greatly. And at that place of her joy, she filled with her torn hair. And she prayed unto Asha of Israel, saying, O Asha, that art our king, help me, desolate woman, which have no helper but thee. For mine danger is in mine hand. From my youth up I have heard in the tribe of my family that thou, O Asha, tookest Israel from among all people, and our fathers from all their predecessors, for our perpetual inheritance. And thou hast performed whatsoever thou didst promise them. And now we have sinned before thee. Therefore thou hast given us into the hands of our enemies, because we worship their gods. O Asha, thou art righteous. Nevertheless, it satisfied them not that we are in bitter captivity, but they have stricken hands with their idols, that they will abolish the thing that thou with thy mouth has ordained, and destroy thine inheritance, and stop the mouth of them that praise thee, and quench the glory of thy house and of thine altar, and open the mouths of the heathen to set forth the praises of the idols, and to magnify a fleshly clean king forever. O Asha, give not thy scepter unto them that be nothing, and let them not laugh at our fall, but turn their device upon themselves, and make him an example that hath begun this against us. Remember, O Asha, make thyself known in time of our affliction, and give me boldness, O King of the nations, and the Shah of all power. Give me eloquent speech in my mouth before the lion. Turn his heart to hate him that fighteth against us, that there may be an end of him and all that are like-minded to him. But deliver us with thine hand, and help me that am desolate, and which have no other help but thee. Brothers and sisters, all we have is Asha. And so the enemy is round about you, and they are planning some very wicked things. And so now is the time of mourning and shame for us to repent for our iniquities, the things that we have done against our Asha. And it's time to come to him in spirit and in truth, because if you don't, you will die. And so the book of Daniel speaks about what's going to happen in the end. Daniel chapter 12, verses 1 through 4. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was, since there was a nation, even to the same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars, forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. This is the day of the great trouble, brothers and sisters. They call it Jacob's trouble. Get your house in order, because our deliverance is nigh. Negroes in North America, you will be delivered to Zion, Peru, within a year, saith Asha. Not all of you will make it. A residue will. See you in Peru.
Hi.
Shalom.